What's up and welcome back to the channel. The name is Ninja Knight. Make sure you like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell up above for future uploads. Thanks. So here I have a tweet from the Sunday game, and this is following up on the comments from Cabbage Man Colm O'Rourke and his recent comments about Dublin. What happens when you make comments like that and you have media attention on a certain narrative? It starts to play into the mind of certain individuals, and the Sunday game have seen fit to tweet this out, and it was a bit of a laugh at the panel at the time. But wait until you see the absolute thuggery that occurs here now from the Mayo players. It's shocking stuff, and the fact that this tweet is being made, it says everything that you need to know. Things got a little heated between both sides as the Dublin and Mayo players headed in for the half-time break. Now, I don't know about you, but when you look at this video and you break it down, it's not just a little bit heated, it's absolutely disgraceful. And when that figures into what Mayo are up to during the game today, it's sad stuff, and it shows then the media have had an effect on the Mayo team. The Mayo team didn't really look like they wanted to play football today. They wanted to engage in theatrics. They wanted to engage in off-the-ball incidents. And for a large part of the game, it did work for them. But ultimately, Dublin ended up beating them, and it was justice was served. So we'll have a look at the video now, and then we'll talk about it and break it down.
This is the scenes at the end of the first match. See Keith Higgins in yellow and Philly McMahon in red for Dublin, and Aidan O'Shea in there as well. Lots of aggression on the way in. Here's a better angle again. So that is Keith Higgins in the yellow and McMahon in the red. And obviously we saw a few different players and mentors running in as well. So they were the halftime scenes. It doesn't really sum up, does it, that opening half? It was relatively clean, but it was very, very aggressive, Oisín.
Well, I think Mayo brought the most of that aggression. Before the game I said I'd love to see Dublin with their feathers ruffled a little bit, and certainly that's exactly what happened. Philly McMahon's obviously, had a word in Cillian O'Connor's ear on the way in. Keith Higgins has taken exception to that, and it's the first time all year I've seen somebody stand up to the Dubs and bring a little bit of fight to them. And the first half for me, was enjoyable, okay, for the very fact that it was like a war of attrition, and we haven't seen a war of attrition in relation to the Dubs.
What? I mean, the way she's even laughing at the start of that, ha ha ha, Philly McMahon has just been grabbed by the throat, and then he is pushed against the wall, and then Aidan O'Shea decides to not slap him once, twice, and then throws a punch into the back of Philly McMahon's head. That is pure and utter cowardice, and it's thuggery. And this guy saying that they want to be rattled, and I'm delighted to see their feathers are ruffled. I'm not having this whatsoever, and I have to say, this is a disgrace. It's a disgrace from the panel. It's a disgrace from everyone that's at RTA at the moment to not call this nonsense out. And you're actually seeing this type of stuff start to come more to light now since Joe Brolly's departure, because these people here have been outed by Joe Brolly as being bland, and they want a certain narrative to be shifted consistently. Joe Brolly has been one of the biggest, I suppose, supporters of Dublin in terms of the football that they play instead of the puke football that had been played, in his words, over the last number of years. And this is reverting back to type now. If you can't beat Dublin on the scoreboards, just punch some of their players and fellas that are on the bench. Maybe he's having a bit of a laugh in terms of what Philly McMahon's saying, but that absolutely does not give a right for the players to engage in what they did. Now, Aidan O'Shea did this as well too during the match. He punched another fella when he was on the ground. Was there any ramifications from this for the referee? Nothing whatsoever. O'Shea should have been seeing red at half-time. I don't care what anyone says. Punching someone in the back of the head is pure cowardice. Now we are going to break down the video and have a look at a bit more in detail. So as we can see here from the images, you are seeing now, and we will slow them down because this is the beauty of them having this.
Keith Higgins in yellow.
So we see now Aidan O'Shea has decided to put his hand onto the back of Philly McMahon's head, and we will see a punch very shortly. So just keep an eye on this here. You will see him pull his fist back, and he will then punch Philly in the back of the head.
And Philly McMahon in red for Dublin.
There you go. You see it there. We'll just pull it back again.
Philly McMahon in red for Dublin, and Aidan O'Shea in there now, as well.
To me, that is absolute dirt, because you punching a man in the back of the head shows what a type of coward you are. I am only sorry that Dessie Farrell didn't bring Philly on earlier to laugh in the face of Aidan O'Shea and to actually cause him a bit of a problem. Now, Aidan O'Shea had been involved in theatrics during the game in terms of diving, and all of the other stuff that he'd been involved in terms of hitting players off the ball and then hitting players on the ground as well too. This is absolutely shocking stuff. We'll keep rolling this on, but wait until you see the cute little cut that RTE have when they decide to move on.
Lots of aggression on the way in. Here's a better angle again.
A better angle there from Joanne, but they failed to show the punch down from Aidan O'Shea very clearly, don't they? Interesting stuff.
That is
so there you have this now. You have Phillies having a laugh at this guy. He's decided to grab him by the throat and push him up against the wall, and Aidan O'Shea, in all his bravery, decides to say, I'm going to hit him now from behind. I'm going to start getting at Philly McMahon, because Philly McMahon has pocketed this guy many a time.
Keith Higgins in the yellow and McMahon in the red.
There, pulls right away there as Aidan O'Shea walks on in. This has no place in the JAA. We had issues years ago with people arguing and having scuffles. The Battle of Omagh is a big one that teams practically got involved in, and surprisingly enough, Dublin came out looking well that way in terms of they did actually defend themselves, because in previous years the likes of Armagh would have come down and acted the bully boy, and Dublin on that day stood up. But what happened in the media then after that, if you remember, Dublin were vilified. They were told these are dirty players, these players shouldn't be doing what they're doing, and this can't be happening in the game. But as you're just saying there, it's a bit of a chuckle, bit of a yeah, well, ruffle their feathers when it's Mayo doing that. So if all things are equal, why don't you say that for Dublin at the time when the Battle of Omagh happened? What seems to be the issue now? Well, it seems to be some bias sort of nonsense that you're getting to see here. Now, for these guys that are up in the studio, it's absolute codswallop that they're talking most of the time. You have the most blandest of individuals talking on the panel. I will say Mr. O'Shea is actually quite decent, and to be fair to him today, he actually sung the praises of James McCarthy, someone who I think is an absolutely wonderful footballer, very gifted and an excellent player, very underrated and an unsung hero in the Dublin team. So I will credit him with that. But the likes of Joanne Cantwell as well, with seemingly her issue with the men's Dublin team, maybe it's because nobody really cares about the women's football, and you know yourself on that one. But what we're seeing here is panellists, we're seeing analysts, and we're seeing a presenter that isn't taking to task this absolute thuggery that's going on here. And like I said earlier on, it seems to be, well, if you can't beat them on the pitch, you may as well try to get a few sly digs in and try and ruffle them up and that. Luckily enough, this is a Dublin team that's made of sterner stuff. It was fantastic to see the likes of Con O'Callaghan standing up to this nonsense. It was beautiful to see Paul Mannion towards the end standing up to it and like really being enjoying the win in people's faces, because you can bet your bottom dollar these fellas would be up to the same type of tactics themselves. Look at Lee Keegan, for example. He's another guy that would be up to these type of nonsensical tactics in trying to wind people up. Anybody that tries to say that it's a Dublin only situation, that they try to wind people up and they play on the edge of the game's rules and stuff like that, is codding themselves. This goes on. This is what happens when you see people step across the line, and you will take any and all advantages as much as possible. But what I won't stand for is this type of nonsense, this cowardice. Aidan O'Shea, in my opinion, is an absolute coward, punching a man from behind. Sad stuff it is, and they want to criticise and call Philly McMahon all the names under the sun, but you're going to have to take a closer look at home there and look at the fact that Aidan O'Shea is actually behaving as you would call Philly, which he isn't, a thug. So that's my video for today. As you're talking here, you can see the likes of the Sunday game here saying things got a little heat between both sides as the Dublin and Mayo players headed in for the halftime break. No. What actually happened was two Mayo players, you can maybe count 3, maybe 4, assaulted one individual Dublin player. That should be the headline. Not things got heated between both sides. That's an erroneous, false statement that you have made. You knowingly tweeted this out knowing this is a false statement. You will have numerous individuals from the likes of Off the Ball and RTE and other shield journalists that absolutely despise Dublin, even though they live and work in Dublin, funnily enough, which is quite strange. And you will see these people come out and say, oh, Dublin are being funded, and the same old rhetoric time after time. None of these people were crying when Kilkenny was a hoarding stronghold. None of these people were crying when Kerry was a football stronghold. But all of a sudden, Dublin seemed to be going through a dominant period, and suddenly, all of a sudden, it's a problem. Very strange. Anyway, gonna leave it there. Make sure you like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Up the dubs. Great stuff. Talk to you later. Good luck.